Livya Howard-Yashar is a dancer, educator, choreographer, musician, and actor native to Los Angeles. A graduate of Sarah Lawrence College, Livya has performed and collaborated alongside various New York-based dance artists, including Chia Jim Kao, and currently tours with Max Pollak's Rumba Tap based in New York City. She has held workshops in Israel, Greece, Ghana, and the UK. Since moving back to her hometown of Los Angeles, Livya has worked with LA-based groups such as Sarah Elgart, Arrogant Elbow, Mojacar Flamenco, and continues to show her work in LA, New York, and abroad. As a choreographer, Livya's movement explores the meeting point between concert, commercial, and folkloric dance forms with an emphasis on musicality and rhythmic accents. Livya's passion for body percussion developed from her work as a vocalist and world percussionist and has over recent years become an integral part of her contemporary dance practice. With her extensive background in the performing arts and cross-cultural studies, her work draws upon the interconnectivity of language, storytelling, music, and dance. This coming fall, Livya will be pursuing her MFA in choreography at California Institute of the Arts. And today, in Dance in America, we have the pleasure to introduce you to Livya Howard-Yashar. Wow, so tell me a little bit about how did you start dancing? When did you start dancing? How did that all come about?
I started dancing from the wee age of 2 or 3.
Okay.
I don't know which one it was. I started with tap.
Okay.
Which came back into my life a lot later.
Okay.
I had a very similar upbringing to a lot of other dancers. I did ballet, I did tap, I did jazz, and it's funny because as a kid, I was very picky, and I didn't really stick with anything for a long period of time. So even if it was tap, if it was ballet, I did it for a few months. I did it for 5 months, 6 months, and then no more.
Okay.
I'm moving on to the next thing. And I think because it's hard for kids to, there's so much being offered, so many extra activities and karate and gymnastics, that it was every time I saw a new form or a new shiny thing, I would kind of go after it.
After that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when do you start focusing on your particular style, or do you continue with that eclectic mixture of dance styles ever since then? Or did you specialize in one for a while and then you again drifted, or how did?
Right. From the time I was young, I mean, I took a break. I actually started off as kind of a preteen in my early teenage years and elementary school, middle school years. I was actually more of an actor. So I was dancing, but that wasn't my main discipline. So I really was, a Shakespeare nerd. I went to theater camp.
Nice.
Acting was really how I wanted to express myself. But I was also dancing. And then around the time I started high school is when dancing came back more seriously for me.
Yeah, so more intense.
Yeah, more intensely. And I had done, in high school, I had focused on, I'd been introduced to a variety,
variety,
jazz, modern, I mean, not so much classic modern, but lyrical is what we would call it.
Okay.
So I was on the dance team. I was active every single year. I would dance in lyrical pieces, jazz pieces, hip hop, a little bit of tap, but not so much contemporary. Contemporary wasn't really something that I knew about when I was younger. It was just everything was very clearly defined as jazz, lyrical jazz.
Yes.
Or certain ethnic styles of dance, like belly dance. I did a lot of belly dance.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then it was around the time of high school too that I want to say, because I had so many arts opportunities offered to me, that it really hit me that dance was going to be with me for the rest of my life.
For the rest of your life.
yeah, I was still theatrical,
Of
and I still
course.
loved, and I was musical too. I was in the choir. I've always been a singer. I've always been musical, and that high school is really when I started also kind of, I would say, appreciating rhythm. I wasn't really a
Uh-huh.
drummer,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I was I started beatboxing, and
Oh,
I always had a lot of movement and music coming out of me, and I
oh,
was
nice.
trying to figure out where I wanted to put those things. So
Yeah, yeah.
I had a lot available to me, and I was kind of doing it all. I was kind of doing it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you about that because I find it so interesting and amazing that you do body percussion. So I was gonna ask you exactly that. Like, when did that come about, and what was it that just that grabbed your attention towards that?
Mm. So, I mean, yeah, something overall that's kind of defined, if you want to say defined my journey
Uh-huh.
from the time I was in high school, where I knew dance was going to be in my life, and I knew that was going to be it.
Hmm.
But I also knew I didn't want to leave music behind completely. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't want to leave theater behind. I knew that I was good at all of those things, and I
Okay.
knew that I was already I was already starting to get really nervous kind of about the pressure of choosing
Choosing
one
one,
art.
because a lot of times that's what they do. They tell you you have to choose one, and I love that you didn't, that you stick with all of them.
I refused. I refused. It wasn't in my.
Hmm.
I always kind of felt like from the time I was young, I had like someone, you know, tapping me on the back,
Tapping.
going, you know, all right, choose one now, and choose one, and then worry about the other stuff later. And it was agonizing. It was really,
Oh,
really, and I mean, it still is, even as an adult
yeah,
practitioner and as a professional, it
yeah.
still is. That's something that's never really left me. You know, since I was a kid,
Hmm.
I refused to let anyone tell me that I had to do one thing or put me
Yeah.
in a, and I'm still just as stubborn. I refuse
Oh,
to, I
good.
refuse, yeah. So that defines a lot of what I do. And the body percussion aspect came in because once I went off to college, and I
Hmm.
kind of learned about, and my dance knowledge really expanded,
Hmm.
um, and learning what this concept of westernized dance versus,
Yeah.
you know, non-westernized dance was, and why one kind of took precedent over the other. I started to really think about my formulating my artistic voice. Okay, what's that going to look like?
Hmm.
I've always been creating. I've always been a choreographer, but of course, when you're a dancer and you're growing up, you have this mindset of, okay, I'm going to get into a company. I need to get into a
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Let me work on my dancing and my body and my craft first before I start thinking about what I want to create. So I wasn't
Yeah.
quite there yet, but the body percussion, I mean, so you were asking how that
Yeah.
came into my,
Hmm.
so that came, I mean, kind of skipping through the college years.
Uh-huh.
That's when I started to drum more seriously. So
Okay.
also in college, I was a dance student. We didn't have set majors. I went to Sarah Lawrence,
Hmm.
which is a liberal art school,
Art. Hmm.
and very self-directed study. So
Nice.
it's very much up to the student to kind of carve their own path and
Okay.
create exactly what their vision is of what they want to do and what they want to study. So that, of course, I loved. I both loved and I hated, because it it can be overwhelming
Of
to have
course.
that. And I've always, none of that's really changed. I've always made it so that from the time I was a kid
Hmm.
till now, I've given myself so many options and so many choices, because it's been hard for me to kind of narrow it down, really, really narrow it down.
Yeah.
And you could spend a lifetime. You could spend a
Of
lifetime
course.
exploring.
Yeah.
I started drumming in college, and I started doing percussion and
Hmm.
music and singing as well, in addition
Okay.
to my main dance studies.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, how can I connect these two? I know I can. I've seen it. I've seen people do it. You know, there's tap, and I kind of, tap started coming back into my life, and it was my my teacher at the time and mentor,
Uh-huh.
later became my an artistic partner of mine, Max Pollak. He is the artistic director of his company Rumba Tap.
Oh, okay, yes.
Which combines
Nice.
American tap dance, Afro-Cuban dance,
Oh.
and vocals.
Oh my God, that's
So
perfect for you.
right. So this was skipping ahead to halfway through college. He was teaching there, and I had the pleasure of meeting him and taking his class. And my mind there was just an explosion in my mind. I said, how can this is so unique, first of all, and I've never seen anything like this put together and be called a company, you know, a dance company and a music making company, and something that is so culturally specific. And that was my first kind of awakening to, wow, this is someone who's really taken all these disciplines and learned to combine them in a way
and
that's
create his own thing and so unique.
And I had tapped, you know, from my youth and a little bit of high school too, but not, you know, it wasn't my main craft. And so I brought tap back into my awareness, and then the body percussion became a really natural evolution of it was just very, very natural for me because
for you.
as a dancer and as a drummer, as a percussionist and vocalist, rhythm is just kind of innately part of my life. So body percussion was a thing, a real thing. My mind was just completely blown, and I said, this is incredible, and I can sing. Voice is body music. It's not just, you know, drumming on your body. Voice, it's using the body for all of its capacity.
Oh, nice.
And it's the earliest form of music to ever exist.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I think that's what I love about you, is like all these different disciplines and beauty all put together into your own style that you're doing and creating. So that's wonderful. So how does Livya prepare for an upcoming performance? How do you prepare for a show? Do you have any rituals? Do you change your sleeping patterns? Do you change your diet? Do you go crazy and super disciplined, or do you just become absolutely creative and crazy?
There's a lot of crazy, that's for sure. Crazy is a key component to my work, whether it's the concept or the idea that I'm kind of stirring up in my head, to the, you know, rehearsal process and getting things together. And it's been interesting because as I went to school in New York and then I moved back to LA as a professional and as a choreographer, I started to plant my roots in New York, and then came back to LA and felt like I kind of needed to start over in a sense as an adult, because I spent my childhood dancing in LA and with this influence from Rumba Tap and from dancing with the MFA students at Sarah Lawrence, and flamenco actually came back into my sphere too in college. So tap, flamenco, body percussion, belly dance, and this new concept of what contemporary dance is I was all being digested by me in this 4-year period, and until I came back here. And so New York has a different kind of energy, you know, it's very fast paced, and I have Southern California in my blood. So it's kind of this dichotomy going on. And I learned a lot of what it meant to, you know, be a professional and prepare for a show and what that looks like in college. And of course you have that structure when you're in school. So you have classes every day that you're taking every day. You have stretching, you have yoga, you have, you know, food in the dining hall, not necessarily the most nutritious, but you have to learn as an adult what works with your body and how you maintain your energy levels. And I actually got mono for the first time in mononucleosis in college. So and that was my first year of college actually as a dancer. So I was really I really struggled for that second semester because I was knocked out. My energy was completely gone. I had to miss out on, you know, certain rehearsals, and then I had to just kind of watch it, jump into the last rehearsal and give it everything that I had, and wear myself out just by running it one time, like the whole piece.
Oh God.
So now, what does it look like? If I know that I have something coming up, I'm definitely not, I always call myself the laziest, professional dancer choreographer, because I really can be. Overall, like I'm pretty healthy. I do yoga, I dance 4 times a week, and I kind of switch up the discipline and kind of accessing different parts of my body. But if I have a show coming up or I'm working with dancers, I get in a different mode. That's not Livya as a person.
Okay.
Like non-dancer mode. When I'm in dancer mode, I really have to take that whip and crack myself, and get in a certain headspace of your body is your, I always know that my body is my
your instrument, yeah.
But when you're really preparing and you're doing the work and you give yourself deadlines and you have material that you actually have to create, it's a different kind of pressure. It's a different kind of pressure, but I try to enjoy every minute of it.
Nice.
I'm very sensitive to when it starts to become over.
When it starts, of course, not when it stops being fun, because it's so important as dancers that we always have fun and the love doesn't leave us, you know what I mean? Because the moment you stop loving it or you stop having fun, then maybe there are things to consider,
Absolutely. I will, even if I'm doing someone else's work, that's not my own. If I'm not
feeling it,
find at least a few aspects to list that I love about the work or the choreographer or what we're doing, then I ask myself, why am I doing this? Especially if it's not paid, or if it's I really love the work. I have to love the work and I have to believe in the work.
Nice. Yeah, of course. That's so important. Oh my God. And how do you deal with insecurities? Do you have any insecurities? It's a question I've been asking every dancer.
You asked the right person. Yes, I have plenty of insecurities. I have a lot of insecurities. In fact, I wonder, I think about it often, why dancers kind of seem to have, or at least, I don't know if it's LA or just in the professional scene, but dancers tend to have this armor that's kind of up. That is, I'm gonna constantly be composed, and I'm going to have this kind of neutral facade going on. And we're in the hardest industry in the world. I mean, that goes without saying. We are, yes, the music industry is hard, the acting industry is hard. But we are, you lose one night of sleep, you're screwed. You know what I mean? You don't work out 2-3 days in a row, you're screwed. And it feels that way. It feels that way because you have to start over every time.
Again.
So I definitely have a lot of insecurities when I, just on a practitioner daily, if I go a week, because I'm feeling badly, just to knowing that it's okay to take rests with my body. That I didn't work out every single day this week, that I'm not a failure. That I don't have this voice in my head that's saying you have failed yourself and failed your career because you didn't take this Pilates class. So I have this, my inner voice is my biggest critic, and most of my insecurities, I want to say, come from that voice.
From that inner voice, huh?
Yeah, from that voice, and from so I guess I just would love to. I tend to gravitate towards dancers and dance communities that are more that are super down to earth, whatever that means, and really transparent with their where they are with their insecurities, with their struggles, because as dancers, so many, that's without a doubt. And as someone who has lived with anxiety and depression for a good part of my life, being in one of the most difficult industries, and also trying to upkeep my mental health
Yeah.
is probably, that is my full-time job. Like that's my career right now, essentially, is kind of trying to balance those two things and make this harmony between them, so that I can do it and love what I'm doing and not begin to hate it because I'm pressuring myself and I'm letting a negative voice kind of and what other people might think of me dictate what I do and what I create. So that's definitely an insecurity, and there's another insecurity that I think I should talk about. It's long. I don't know how much time
we have time. Yes.
So also just knowing, and kind of I wanted to bring this into, and I don't know if you have kind of questions about this after I start. I might be jumping into it too soon.
No, that's fine.
So being someone who has been heavily influenced by Black dance, whatever you want to call it, African American dance and African inspired dance, it's been essentially the foundation of everything that I do. And even when it's jazz or something that you wouldn't think, and I think the dance world is really awakening.
Yeah, they're waking up.
Waking up to this right now. I mean, it's always been, as a dancer, I've always felt a responsibility to know the history of everything that I do and every art form that I'm practicing, and knowing where it comes from, knowing its evolution. And I studied anthropology in school too, so that was always, without a doubt, that I would not practice anything without kind of knowing the background. And
of course.
But I do, I do occasionally find myself, and especially in light of recent events, this kind of this next civil rights movement that we're experiencing right now, I am feeling, and I've always felt this way, but now more than ever, I'm really feeling a responsibility to re-examine my role in these dance vernaculars and what it means to be, even though I have problems with the whole concept of whiteness and calling people white who aren't necessarily white, but because white to me means Anglo-Saxon.
Yes.
That's very specific. But I think that as a society, we're really operating on what is whiteness.
Yeah.
What is, who can be white passing and who can fall under that umbrella and live their lives without the threat of being killed, and being pursued. And so, I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, and so an insecurity that I have a lot is, how can I use my unique voice and express that voice through this art form, through this African dance vernacular, in a way that is my own, and in a way that is complementing and expanding upon what already exists, but not implying that I'm taking ownership or that I am spearheading, some movement. So that's definitely something that I struggle with, and I've only I haven't been received badly, in say the African American dance community here, but I always second guess.
You're aware, like you're wondering how people are gonna perceive it and what they're gonna think because of everything that's going on.
Right, and I've been in one of the most interesting experiences for me was 2 summers ago, being in Ghana. I'm teaching for the International Body Music Festival, and as part of Rumba Tap with Max Pollak, we were traveling there, and we were performing this our repertoire, which is Afro-Cuban dance and body singing, and it was so wild to me to be presenting this Afro-Cuban dance to a village of Ghanaian elders, where the roots of this dance
Yeah.
from not necessarily Ghana, but from
Yeah.
that
From
region.
that area. Yeah.
And thinking to myself, how crazy is this that they're seeing, you know, a gringuita, you know, someone
I think
no
light skin. Yeah. Because they see your light skin and that's where, yeah.
they see my light skin and they see a Jew and an Austrian, you know,
Oh my God.
here Afro-Cuban movement and body percussion and they, I mean, they loved it. They were
Yeah.
so into it. But I
Oh,
mean, how strange is this that I'm taking kind of what comes from this origin, taking it back to the Caribbean through my country and then back to Ghana through my body, kind of as a vessel,
yeah.
performing it there in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just truly wild. You know, my mind did have
A
a sense
moment.
of,
Yeah.
oh my God, what are they, you know, what are these people think?
Yeah.
Like, do they think I'm crazy? Do they think, where in God's name did she learn this? Like, how is, you know, so it's watching their fascination really had an impact on me and made
Oh,
me think, who am I in all of this?
of
Who am I?
course.
What is my role? And I'm still thinking that, and especially the last 2 weeks, I'm feeling that.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful though, because it's making you think about your role and it's making you also maybe come up with ways of promoting more of their culture and what hasn't been spoken about them and so much has taken away from them, you know? And you will probably be one of the voices that can start also, you know, waking people up with what's going on and through movement and through dance, sharing their beauty, the beauty of that culture, the sounds, why everybody in the world is so impacted by what the Africans have brought to us, you know, to the Americas. Like there, we wouldn't have merengue, we wouldn't have salsa, we wouldn't have Afro-Cuban rhythms. None of that would exist
You
if
don't have anything. You just ballet. That's
or
it.
the indigenous dances. But even that, you know, everything, like somebody was saying, like everything comes from Africa and it's just a matter of people accepting it finally.
Yeah, and
So
doing research and really really examining it
mhm.
and understanding the
And
significance
understanding, yeah,
of movement that we practice and where.
exactly. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so beautiful, Livia. How did you make the transition from dancer to choreographer, or were you always a creator since you were little? Were you always trying to create your own dances on the side of the dance class?
Yeah, I from the time I was little, I would my mom loves to tell this story all the time and tell it back to me, even though I've heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
That when I was young and I was living with my mother in Israel, she
Mm-hmm.
was there, in rabbinical school studying for a year. So as a 7-year-old, that was kind of
Okay.
a big move in my life. And one of the ways we got through some of the hardships of you know, where we were living and it was
Yeah.
complicated, we would dance. She said that I would make her get up and dance, and that I would be the teacher, or I would be coming up with this movement, and then she would follow me, and it was this call and response. And yeah, I do remember that, but I guess it was coming from a creator's,
Yeah.
and then, you know, later on, even when it was theater and dance kind of happening
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously, I always had both my parents kind of come from the industry here in LA, and my mom was a theater director and my father was an actor. So I definitely have that control tendency, you know,
Uh-huh.
in me. And I guess I had that at an early age. Like, you see home videos of me with, you know, other dancers, and I'm like, you know, elbowing someone, like, you're doing it wrong.
Go.
Kind of like orchestrating, and it's funny. It's really embarrassing. There's a lot of old footage of that, but
I love it.
um, I yeah, in high school, I was, you know, middle school, high school, I is
Mhm.
really when I started choreographing,
Okay.
and knowing that that was an option was really exciting, and I always took advantage of that. I never really, I didn't know what being a choreographer
Choreography.
was. I knew that oh, you can make dances, you can
Yeah.
create.
Yeah.
And so I always took advantage of that. And I, as I was on the dance team in high school and also through college, I went to school for dance essentially and music.
Okay.
And yeah, I took part in every kind of choreographing opportunity I could. And I knew that so much of my unhappiness with whatever dance community I was in, or whatever concept I was struggling with, I realized that struggle and that frustration was coming from a place of wanting to create it myself.
Oh, okay.
So it took me a long time, until after college, I want to say long after college, to stop fighting to fit into what someone else's idea of a dancer I should be or look like. And everyone around me kept telling me, and nudging me, create your own material, create your own stuff, start your own company. You've been a choreographer since you were young.
Yeah.
And it's like I wasn't really listening to that voice for a long time. I kind of was just very focused on, I need to get into a company, or I need to be a part of someone else's community. And I never really felt like I fit in to anyone's definition of what a dancer for them should look like.
Yes.
So I finally listened years later, and I said, okay, andiamo, like it's time to really go.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Wow, Livya. What is your most memorable moment of your career? Like, which one is the one thing, if there's a performance or a workshop or something, I don't know, what would you say is the most memorable event of your career? I'm not going to say performance because maybe it's not even a performance. So I'm going to say event of your dance career.
Well, that's a big question. And I was going to say, sometimes I feel like I'm just getting started, because I'm supposed to be starting grad school in the fall. So, I feel like in many ways the journey is just beginning. I have had a career. I guess I have had a career.
You have had a career. Yes, you've had a career, girl.
I have. Most memorable, and it doesn't have to be a performance.
No, just from your dance life, choreographer's life. Yeah, it can be anything, but something that has stayed with you that you're like, wow.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, there have been so many, great performances, and in recent years, I've really hit the ground running as far as choreographing shows and trying to get material and my voice out there. But the one thing that sticks out for me was in 2014. This was right after I had kind of spent a year in New York after college, trying to figure out what my next move was, what I was going to do. And this was actually the moment before I started working with Max in Rumba Tap.
Okay.
And he had invited me many times over the years as my teacher to this summer workshop, intensive workshop that happened in Greece. On the island of Lefkada every summer.
Okay.
And the process was 10 days. It's people from Europe, all over the world, really come together, jazz musicians, tap dancers, not just tap dancers, dancers in general, vocalists, and some really esteemed faculty, from Greece, Turkey, and over the period of the 10 days, we would hold workshops in body percussion, singing, jazz, improvisation.
Oh, wow.
And each day we would have workshops, and at the end of the day, we would set up the tap boards, on the beach, at a restaurant, get drunk, whatever, eat delicious food, eat amazing Greek food, and have a jam session.
Oh.
And that happened multiple times over the period of time. And then the idea for the final day was, as a group, we would all kind of put together performances for the town and take our performances through the town and kind of parade it through.
Oh, nice.
Which we actually didn't get to do that because I came in the very, very last year. But that was being with a group of people I'd never met before. It was the first time I think I flew somewhere on my own too. And being able to have that creative space to tap, even though I hadn't tapped in a long time, to sing, to really get into body percussion. That was really a pivotal moment for me. I mean, I'm on the most beautiful, like idyllic island.
Oh my God.
In this gorgeous, gorgeous island in Greece, and with incredible creative people
from all over the world. So amazing. Yeah.
Who kind of, we formed a little family for those 10 days, and it was very intensive. So we'd wake up super early, 7 a.m., something like that, work all throughout the day, then, go out dancing, play music, drink, and stay up 3 hours in the morning, and then get up 2 hours later, all over again. And that was 10 straight days of that.
Wow.
And it was life-changing for me. I finally felt brave enough to not, it's as if the experience said to me, we don't care who you are, just do it.
Just do it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Care what you're here, like how you're representing yourself here, just do what comes. And that kind of freedom and that kind of creativity and bliss is something that I've been chasing, and that kind of experience is something I've been chasing ever since.
Oh, wow. Wanting to experience that again. Yeah.
Uninhibited creativity, openness, support, and learning from one another.
Of course. Oh, that's so beautiful. Wow. That's beautiful, Livya. What an amazing memory, and what an amazing event in your life. That's amazing, because those are the things that really define us, and as we go, and sometimes we don't realize it when we're living it. It's like a few years later we look back and we're like, oh my God, like I'm so glad I did this, because after that something changed in me that allowed me to grow even more in my art form and whatever it is that you're doing. So that's amazing. It sounds amazing. I wish I could go inside your brain and look at all the memories.
Oh, man, there's memories.
Sounds amazing.
A lot of
10 days in that place, like with all these people, and just creating beauty and music and art. That's, what else can you ask for? You know what I mean?
Like I said, I'm never happier than when I'm traveling and I'm making my art.
And you're making your art.
It's that simple. It's really that simple. In a beautiful place with creative, inspiring people.
Oh, that's beautiful.
For a certain amount of time, and it's like nothing else in the world matters.
Well, I'm going to ask you now something opposing to that. Is there anything that you wish you could change about the dance world? If you could change something about the dance world, what would it be?
Another couple hours to hang out here.
Just pick one, the one that is really maybe that you're very passionate about, or that you feel is really important for the dance world to change. I know there's a few, but
yeah, no, there's a lot. The first one that comes to mind, I think, I mean, my main goal, just kind of as a dancer and as a choreographer, and the thing that I've been yearning for the most has been, that's my dog barking.
Oh, cute.
Has been to kind of bridge together the segregation that goes on in the dance world, meaning there's such a divide between the concert world and the commercial world, and the world of folklore, and whether that's socioeconomic, whether that's racial, there needs to be more of a conversation and more of a bridging together of these dance pockets, because every dance community seems so isolated to me, and we don't speak each other's languages. And I feel like there needs to be more of an effort to create a language that's digestible to everyone, and not favoring one dance style over the other. It completely rubs me the wrong way when going into the concert world later in my life, having this kind of rejection of, or feeling this rejecting of commercialized, which really, and when they say commercialized, they really meant urban, you know, like they really meant African American rooted dance is really what it was. So in terms of being racialized, it completely was. I came to college and finally learned what contemporary modern dance was, that meant. And I realized that what that meant was ballet and modern and dances of the Merce Cunningham era of the 60s, late 60s, 70s. And that was up here. And that everything I had learned growing up, everything I had learned to love about movement and dance, whether it was hip hop, jazz, tap, you know, that was down here.
Yeah.
And so I really struggled as a dancer in college to make sense of that, because I kind of refused to let that be pushed aside, and everything that I had worked for as a dancer and everything, the language that I had built in myself, to be tossed aside. I was not about to let that happen. So I said, there must be a way now that I've learned what laba notation is and what, you know, somatic deconstruction is, how can we take that and apply that to all dance forms? Why do we have this hierarchy going on?
Yeah.
And why am I not seeing enough folklorico? Why am I not seeing enough, you know, grounded, rooted African foundations of dance? Why am I not seeing those things? And it bothered me. It really, really bothered me. And it still bothers me. And to this day, while there have been so many voices and dancers and choreographers who have amplified the commercial scene of street styles, I still feel like one is over here, one is over here. And there's not a conversation happening to bridge this, because to concert dances, commercial styles of dance shouldn't feel so inaccessible, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Commercial dancers, the concert world shouldn't be this thing that seems unattainable or something that you have to kind of start from the bottom of to get into. So I think there needs to be a mutual language and more of a conversation around what do dance audiences look like?
Yeah.
You know,
That's true. Talking about audiences is even in that respect, when you go to different performances, the audience is so different. And so, you know, like the ballet audience is always the same, and they're the ones that go see the ballet. And then when you go see, let's say, a folkloric festival, then it's a particular, is the same people that go support. So it's like they never intermingle, or it's rare to see people that are going like, hey, I saw them at the other concert that I went to, or the show, you know, that I went to, or the street festival. Like there's, even as an audience, the audiences just go to their particular thing that they prefer, and they don't expose themselves to other styles of dance and create. So
it's very frustrating to see nowadays. I'm seeing some people in some communities kind of wake up to dance hybridization, but I'm also seeing it's always been happening a bit too slowly for me.
Yes.
I'm seeing the, you know, contemporary dance world, at least here in the United States, as really being focused on, you know, white contemporary Gaga based. every choreographer and dance company is really starting to kind of replicate itself and seem like a carbon copy.
Then you go see it.
And as a choreographer, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in taking this dance audience and giving them something they've absolutely never seen before.
That's good.
And just completely blowing their mind. And if I'm not doing that as a choreographer, I'm not doing what I set out to do.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good, Livia. I think that's wonderful. You know, when I have gone to Mexico, one thing that I love about Mexico is that the arts are accessible to everyone, and they have festivals on the street. And I remember one particular week we were in Mérida, that's in the Yucatan Peninsula, And they were having every night of the week, they were going to have different shows in the plaza, and they set up the stage, and they had one of the nights, it was the National Ballet of Cuba. But then the following night, it was the folklorical dance company from Merida presenting traditional folkloric dance. And then the following night, it was going to be something completely like urban, Mexican urban mixed with indigenous. And it's just so, and then the shows were free in the plaza. So it's like, the audience as well is getting such an amazing education in the arts, because they're seeing everything for free, and they're seeing it right there in their main plaza, and it's incredible. And I think it's something that we need here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, site-specific dance is of huge importance to me. I definitely want to, in my years coming forward, I really want to start to play with what the presence of an audience does to the dance and to the work that's being presented, and what happens when you just take a bunch of dancers and choreography and let it go and run wild in a plaza, a plaza somewhere where nobody's expecting it. And what does that look like? And suddenly this sense of viewership from the audience is flipped on its head. And I'm really interested in yes, of course, making sure that the arts are accessible to all people of all backgrounds.
Yeah.
And how do we change dance from being very traditionally set up in a theater on a stage where the tickets are in many cases not affordable, to being somewhere that is accessible, where someone has never seen dance before in their life will finally be seeing this explosion of creativity happen very spontaneously.
Well, I guess it's up to people like us. We have to do it. It's got to start somewhere.
In America, we gotta, this is starts somewhere, and I think it's just, people are just kind of waking up. I think it's a slow process, but it's
happening. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Oh, Livya. Well, and just to start bringing everything to an end, what advice would you give young artists before we go? Like, what advice do you have for those boys and girls that are like, 10, 12 years of age, and they're like hesitant about a dance career or not knowing what to do? Is there any particular advice you have for them?
What advice would I give them? If you have any doubts, let's say, do it anyway, because the regret of having not done it is far greater.
Wow.
And I think that no matter who is telling you, it's not going to work out, or you won't be able to make it, or this is too hard of an industry, what someone else tells you isn't going to matter until you internalize it for yourself. Because once you internalize it, you won't be thinking, what if? Why couldn't I just?
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of my dance career saying, why couldn't I just? Why didn't I just? Why, blaming my mother, blaming, well, why didn't you force me to stay in ballet class? I could have been a prima ballerina. Why did you let me quit? Why did you let me quit? She said, no, you made up your mind. You might have been 3 or 4 years old, but you made up your mind. You knew. Said, okay, I guess I knew.
But look at what you're doing now. You're doing body percussion and tap, and you're mixing all these disciplines and making them so beautiful. Then we wouldn't have Livya.
True. If I had a parent who was, had a whip on me and forced me to do the things I didn't want to do, but then at the same time, I know plenty of kids who do have very active, families who are in their lives and really helping direct them on a certain path. And so the advice I would say is, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel fulfilling, and it doesn't make you happy, put it on pause. That doesn't mean it's not a possibility.
Yeah.
It's not possible for that to come back later in your life. Put a pin in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, fantastic. So Livya, what is next for you? This is my last question. What do you have? Any upcoming projects, anything that you're working on? I mean, grad school is a big one.
Yes, yes. Grad school, I'm starting at CalArts, starting my MFA in
Nice.
fall, September. And we're still not sure what that's going to look like in this post-COVID world. So it's kind of crazy. I also had I had a few projects over the summer that I was supposed to work on. Not my own projects necessarily, but other
that you
people's.
were part of. Yeah.
A dance horror film that is still on the books to be
Nice.
filmed. It's just going to be postponed a little bit.
Yes.
So that I am set to be choreographing, and we've been rehearsing and we've done a lot of work on it so far. But we were supposed to shoot it this summer, and so it's just getting pushed back a little bit. So choreographing that and also acting in it as well. So I get to once again use a lot of my disciplines in one thing, and it's really exciting. And collaborating with other people is definitely in the books. And as of right now, kind of just doing what I can and really working with the dance artists that I know internationally, and kind of learning what can be done with this virtual connection that we have, because it's not natural for me. You know, I might be a millennial, but I am so not, it's not intuitive for me. I'm not a person that can do the screen thing so well. It just doesn't always feel completely right. And but knowing that in a lot of cases we don't have a choice. So we kind of have to work with what we have right now.
Yes.
That is a challenge. That's enough of a kind of me. I am trying to see how I can connect with dancers and artists from near and far, and what can be done with these new platforms that we have
to continue the work. It feels, I mean, it's interesting. I've had, you know, like I've been connecting with people and I have been doing stuff, and it's fun, but it's the aspect of loneliness of it's just you in front of a machine, which is great. At least we have this now, as opposed to the 1920s, when imagine you're on quarantine and you cannot talk on nothing. There's nothing for you.
I want to imagine. I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. Yeah.
Yes, but it's lonely, because as dancers, we're so used to being part of that community and being in a classroom setting with choreographers and fellow dancers, and it's like a communion of people, and all of a sudden you get that, but it's through this thing like what we're doing right now. And it's like and then when you're moving your body, it's even weirder, because I mean, you know, as dancers, we feed off each other when we're moving and we're going through things, and all of a sudden it's like I'm moving by myself and I see the other people moving in the screen, but it just doesn't feel the same.
I know a lot of dancers, a lot of friends who I've spoken to said they can't do the Zoom thing. It doesn't work for them. It just feels so odd. And, you know, it was odd for me too, but then I kind of got used to it, and it's not something that I can even do every day. You know, I have to really switch it up where I'm connecting virtually with someone one day, and then the next day I do a practice on my own. But it's hard, especially for people who need a kick in the butt, especially in this kind of solitude and this isolation. I definitely need, you know, I have to, my friends, we have to have a pact with each other, say, tell me to write a schedule. So I'm really excited to go back to school, because I need that structure in my life.
Force you, I'll have that. Even if it's online, you'll be forced to then be on the structure with, even if it's through this.
Yeah, holding yourself accountable is really a huge part of it. And you know, I put so much pressure on myself during this quarantine to create the next masterpiece, and but it's a joke. We've all been feeling, and these are things like Zoom and Instagram and Facebook and these social media platforms that feel like we're wasting ourselves and we're wasting away, and that's not the case. We're in the middle of a international trauma, a wide trauma, and that we're still going to be processing and recovering from for years
to come.
I don't think we even have the first sense of how much processing is going to happen. So I am what's next for me is, I think the challenge is learning how to be completely in the moment, anticipate, not prepare,
Yeah.
try to build the next masterpiece in the next 3
Yeah.
months. My goal is to really, how can I work with the world's challenges and what's being
Yeah.
thrown at me and still make it mean something? How can I make it meaningful? Not
Yeah.
just how can I create something that will impress people or that
Yeah.
will shake people up, but make something that's meaningful.
Meaningful
I
too.
think that's enough
Oh,
right now.
I think so too. I think that's wonderful, Livia. I think so. Well, how can people find out about you? Of course, I'm gonna be posting your links and everything. But tell us, can they find you on Instagram, on Facebook, on what are your social media connections, or how can they connect with you?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's my first name, Livya, Marie is my middle name. So Livya Marie is one word.
Mm-hmm.
And on there you can find a link to my website in my bio. So that's livyahy.com. So it's like Livya High. It's just
Okay.
and I'm on Facebook. I use Facebook less, but Instagram, my website.
Okay.
I'm
Perfect.
not a huge social media person, but I'm getting there little
Okay.
by little. Building up that platform.
You heard the people. Be patient. If you message her, just give her a few days, or just keep sending it.
I've had to. Sometimes I have to disconnect, but no, I'm pretty responsive on Instagram.
Okay. Oh,
And,
Livia, thank you so much for your time.
thank you. This is lovely and a really nice, refreshing change to this time of
like I've been telling the people, I have wanted to do this for a while, because like every time they mention Dance in America, it's like, well, first of all, when they say America, they always think of the United States of America, and I'm like, no, America is Central and South America as well. So you have to include those as well. And then we always see so much work out there from like the bigger companies and the big name choreographers, especially like my family in Colombia and my friends in Mexico. What they hear is the typical, New York City Ballet, American Ballet Theater, San Francisco Ballet, Alvin Ailey, Martha Graham Company, and so on. But they don't hear about the smaller groups or the independent choreographers that are creating work, and sometimes work that is a lot more interesting than what the bigger companies are doing. And
right.
this is where my focus is. This is where I want to go. I want to start, sharing what you guys are doing, what you guys are all about, for people to get to know you and get curious about, like, who is this artist? Let me see what she does, and just take it from there.
I love that. And you can't get more information like you can in this kind of setting where you really sit down and talk to someone, because what someone posts or doesn't post shouldn't
exactly.
has no it doesn't determine who they are
Exactly.
and what their story is, because everybody has a story, and
Exactly.
not everybody's story is meant for the screen or for a little box.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I so appreciate you having
thank
me
you.
on.
Of course, Livia. It's like every time I see your work, I mean, we danced together for Mohakar, and we were dancing under wonderful Katerina, and we love you, Katerina. Yes, but I didn't get a chance to see you as a choreographer. So then it's after that I was like, I look at your website and I look at your Instagram, and it's just so beautiful, this body percussion and the photos and everything, that I was like, hopefully when this passes, I'll be able to come to see your performances as well. Yes.
If we even have live performances, who knows what it's going to look like? But that's a challenge. That's
exactly.
Being able to take and work with whatever is
whatever. Exactly. So no, but thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Livia.
Oh my gosh, so good to see you.
Same here. Okay. All right, lady. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.